How about noshing on Tommy Castellanos, a man who has evidently undergone a name change? I was not aware that he was going by Tommy now, but he is across all the national databases. So tell me, my friend, about Florida State and how on earth, after 2-10, did they end up in the top 5 of the conference?
I guess our listeners are really excited about Tommy Boy because this feels like a situation where we're maybe just banking on the name. 2-10 is just still wild to think about, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like how they had to bottom out. I know we were concerned about some of the portal decisions that they made. We were concerned about some of the losses last year, especially on the defensive line. But we never saw 2-10 coming. We never saw that fall from grace from going 13-0 the previous season. So yeah, I don't know how they're back up in the top 5. I would not have personally put them in my top 5, but as we like to say, we will. When you look at the Jimmies and Joes, they will have better Jimmies and Joes than quite a few other teams on the schedule. So I guess we can start there. Yeah, Tommy Castellanos, name change and all, coming down to Tallahassee, talking a lot of trash, even
Saying
to
a lot of
Alabama,
things.
and that's been a choice. I would point him to the record of the team that he's joining from last year, and maybe say that he should chill out with that just a little bit. But he's going to try to right the ship. I I'm not excited about that. I'll just be straight up honest, and I don't want to turn this into just a total bash Florida State session. Your fans have been through enough. If you're a Seminole fan watching this, I promise we'll get to some positives here in just a second because I do have some positives for your team this year, and I think there are things to look forward to. But I am not excited about this quarterback decision. It's a second straight year. I don't know if it's just we can't find the money. Maybe the booster support has dried up for Mike Norvell to find a quarterback, and they're kind of just wanting him to exit stage right. Whatever it is, I'm just really not don't have a lot of enthusiasm about the portal selection at quarterback for the second straight year.
It does feel a little bit like a Moneyball strategy, but you know that there are no corners being cut. There's no budget that's being saved by getting DJ Uiagalelei last year and Tommy Castellanos this year. I do think last year, quite frankly, there wasn't a world where that portal edition made any sense to me. We kind of DJU was who we thought he was, and it just wasn't going to be the X factor that was going to get FSU to championship contention. Castellanos at least fits what Gus Malzahn wants to do on offense. If you're just kind of realizing Gus Malzahn is now the offensive coordinator at Florida State, left UCF, just kind of gave up the head coaching job, did resign. So he saved UCF a bunch of money by doing that, which was a nice, I guess, redemptive arc on his way out of town. But he basically decided that he didn't want to be a head coach anymore in the modern college football, and he just wanted to go be an offensive coordinator. Goes down the road to Tallahassee. And when you look back at what Malzahn has succeeded with, it is dual threat quarterbacks, but I don't know if Castellanos is the guy that can throw well enough to be the quarterback that's going to flourish in Malzahn's system. That's going to be something I think we discover this year together. 2 years ago, he was a run-first quarterback. If he was throwing the ball, it was probably going to the other team or falling incomplete. He was not the poster boy for efficiency. Last year, despite getting benched up in Boston College, he actually improved quite noticeably across a bunch of key metrics. And so I think there is some positives. There are reasons to like Castellanos in this offense, but we've never seen him be a guy that I would have thought, okay, that's the quarterback that a team a piece away would love to have. And you plug him in and suddenly it's conference championship, playoff, etc. That's where I feel like I'm wrestling with as the identity of the offense seems to center around Castellanos, the mobility and throwing off of that athleticism.
It's almost like Mike Norvell saw him come into Doak Campbell last year and beat them and just said,
Yeah.
hey, that's my guy. That's a gamer.
Yeah.
In week one, it was the second game for Florida State, but it was week one of the season. And just the rest of the season was hell bent on getting him to Tallahassee. That's all. I know that's probably not how it went down, but that's just what it feels like.
Yeah.
I guess transitioning to the other pieces around him, Roydell Williams is going to come back from injury. They were really banking on him to be a big piece of that offense last year. And then when he went down, the run game kind of went with him. They brought in Squirrel White from Tennessee. That's going to be a dynamic receiving option. He can get loose. He has that name for a reason. Gavin Blackwell from North Carolina, Deuce Robinson from UCF. They're kind of rebuilding the
USC.
receiving cores. Randy Pittman is an interesting tight end pickup from UCF as well. I'm worried about the offensive line because it was one of the worst in Florida State history last year. They gave up 49 sacks, gave DJU and everybody else that was playing quarterback last year just no time to do anything. They're going to have a completely new starting lineup, it looks like, potentially. 4 sitting starters from the FBS, a starter from Harvard as well. It's going to take some time to gel, and I'm worried that that's going to just be another year, another situation where they're bringing guys in hoping they can gel, and if it gets off to a rough start, there's going to be a lot of grumbling very quickly.
Yeah, they need Gavin Sawchuk to step up in the running game as well. He joined, I believe, in the spring portal. So, it's probably going to be running back by committee, but they have to have that. Florida State, when they're great, they have a very, very good ground attack. And I need to see them return to that. Last year, 128th in rushing. They were 130th in scoring, 132nd in total offense. So, Florida State fans, the good news is you can't be much worse than what you were last year. It was just sad to watch that Seminoles team try and play offense. I don't know, Trey, if the offseason kind of washes away the sins of maybe some past social media bets, some wagers that were not paid off, something to do with the Red Solo Cup. I don't know where we stand as far as college football karma when it comes to that, but I'll flip it over to the defense as you chuckle away. I do actually like the defense and some of their starting points, specifically the defensive line. They bring in Tony White from Nebraska. Terrence Knighton came with him. 2 big losses to the Cornhusker staff that we highlighted when we previewed Nebraska. And then they get guys like Elijah Herring who come over from Memphis to join the linebacking core. I can talk myself into the pieces around a guy like Amar Graham Jr., who's coming back in that linebacking unit. I can talk myself into some of the talent that they have on the back end of the secondary. But I joked on Twitter, I have them squarely in the could win the league, could miss a bowl game category. And that's a category of 1 in the ACC. Like, Florida State, to me, has such a wide variety of outcomes where if the Mike Norvell portal plan pays off, sure, like 9-3, 10-2, playing in the ACC title game, wouldn't shock me. Do I expect it? No, but wouldn't shock me because that's what this Florida State team and program I think is capable of doing. The best of Tommy Castellanos is probably going to be hell on wheels for a lot of defensive coordinators in the league. I could also see them missing the postseason again because when you bring in this many new puzzle pieces, sometimes, Trey, you don't get all the corner pieces. Sometimes you lose some of those middle pieces in the shuffle. And like I did two Christmases ago with my in-laws, you spend hours putting together thousands of pieces of puzzles. And then lo and behold, you figure out there's 2 pieces missing in the dead center and they're nowhere to be found. That's what it felt like Florida State was last year, just missing pieces all over the place.
Spot on. And that's what's been so, I think, frustrating to watch Florida State go through because you know that they're in a recruiting hotbed. You know that they have the resources to go get top 10, top 5 high school recruiting classes and backfill those positions with talent. They are not a program that needs to build through the portal yet. Mike Norvell has chosen to do that. It's paid off great at times. Their 2023 squad was largely built through the portal. But when you live by the portal, you're also going to die by the portal. And that's exactly what happened last year. They didn't get the right evaluations. They missed at key spots, quarterback, defensive line, the most important spots on the team they were missing. So, yeah, it's just really fascinating to watch a program, the caliber of Florida State, what Bobby Bowden and Jimbo Fisher built it up into, try to be an Ole Miss or I don't want to slander anybody, but you know the teams that typically build through the portal and have not been relying on high school recruiting. That's still the bedrock of this game, and building the best way to build talent consistently is through that high school recruiting. They just haven't done it. I mean, going back all the way to the Twitter space that we all love to sneak in on when they lost Travis Hunter to Jackson State a few years ago. It's just always been a bugaboo, right? Back to this year, though, I'm a little – you said you're high on the defensive line. The only thing I'm worried about, I know they got James Williams from Nebraska, and I'm not really talking about him here. They're relying on some other pieces from smaller schools. They got a guy from Coastal, I think, a guy from Western Kentucky. Both of them put up great numbers at those schools. But anytime that we're relying on guys in the trenches from smaller schools, particularly Conference USA, I get a little uneasy. Yes, I know Jared Verse came from Albany, and he's maybe
Yeah.
the best defensive lineman this generation, definitely from Florida State. But that's just something I always worried about, something I circle and maybe come back to if it doesn't live up to expectations. But overall, it seems like the coaching staff is confident in their portal additions on defense. They've made a lot. And from the depth charts I've seen, I mean, they bring their top two tacklers back, but both of them are listed as backups behind some of these new transfers. So it seems like the coaching staff is really confident in these guys that they're going to be trotting out on the field, and it can only go up, especially in the pass, in the run defense, because it was really bad last year. They were good against the pass, but really bad against the run last year.
Yeah, they sure were. Deontay McCray is the guy from Western Kentucky. I'm excited to see what he looks like in this FSU system because at times in Conference USA it felt like a man amongst boys. And so coming up a level in competition, and we'll get to their schedule in just a second. It's going to be a nice step up in competition, right? He's going to be playing some big old boys along that offensive line. The one thing, back to your transfer portal point for just 1 second, the thing that has convinced me and my college football financial advisor to keep Knowles Coin out of my portfolio for 2025 is that evaluation snafu that Norvell just seems to have. The guy cannot evaluate a quarterback. He cannot get a quarterback worth his salt to Tallahassee. Just go look at the attempts that he's made to secure high school commits, and he might get a guy in the boat verbally, never makes it to campus, ends up flipping, ends up transferring out if, for the guys that they do get to campus. I don't believe there's a single quarterback on the roster currently that could be hyperbole, but he doesn't have any sort of stockpile of talent that he's actually brought to Tallahassee from the high school ranks. It's concerning. It's concerning. The blue chips have just not been there. They've not wanted to stay. When they have gotten in action, it's not been good. It's not been good. The backup situation has been abysmal at Florida State. So I'm on pause with Florida State as far as me buying in, selling, really doing anything. I'm just going to be a casual observer this year. I do think that they could get to 6, 7, 8 wins. And like I said, I mean, if everything clicks, sure, let's talk ACC title game. But boy, you're going to have to prove a lot to me. That schedule starts early. Alabama, week 1. They host them. They get Alabama at home, but I think the betting markets already have this as a double-digit game in favor of the Tide. Last I saw it was 12 or 13 points. It honestly wouldn't shock me if this is more up towards the 17-point stratosphere by the time we kick off. I just don't know that after this offseason and given what we know about Alabama and Ryan Grubb coming to the Crimson Tide, that offense looking like it's going to be, all systems go health-wise, I just don't really know how Florida State's going to stack up against the Tide, not without seeing them on the field first.
I know how they're going to stack up. I don't think it's going to be pretty. And I think that Castellanos running his mouth is going to be a really big problem for him. He's writing checks that his play and his teammates will not be able to cash. Could be a weird. I mean, I know Lance Barton of Always Talking Ball was really nervous about this game as an Alabama fan, but I just don't know, other than just some PTSD on his end, where that's coming from. After that, they get East Texas A&M and Kent State. Those should be wins. Then you have a tricky Virginia squad on the road. You host Miami, Pitt at home, at Stanford. That's a really tricky. There's not a game. There's not a Power 4 game in that opening stretch there that there's not some weird wrinkle to, right? Even Stanford, they're going all the way across the country and crossing 3 time zones to get to that game. So getting started, I think we're starting 0-1. However many they can win, in addition to East Texas A&M and Kent State, however many they win of those next 4 is really going to determine how this season goes. Because if they go 1-3, in those next 4, which I don't think is out of the question, especially if they go 0-3 against Virginia, Miami, and Pitt back to back to back, Norvell's probably gone after that Stanford game going into the bye week, or he's at very least a dead man walking the rest of the year, and it's really hard to find motivation for everybody once again.
Yeah. I'm certainly not rooting against Florida State, but boy, if it does go sideways, I wonder how quickly the circus comes to town and what Florida State then has to do, right, to figure that out. Norvell's got he took a reduction in pay. Was that this year or last year?
It was after last year, because
Okay.
he did not take the reduction after being right on the cusp of the playoff. He
That's
got
right.
the
That's right.
extension, I believe, if I'm remembering right. He got an extension after that, and
Yeah.
then backtracked.
Said, "Oh, wait, hey, you know what? Actually, I'll give that back to you. I appreciate the gesture. That's too kind of you. Allow me to return the favor." Yeah, Florida State, interesting football team this year. Could click, could fall apart, probably somewhere in between.